Hello, I am Jerome Tomaselli, President and founder of GxpManager, the open lookout platform for regulated industries. Today, I am going to talk to you about data and its utilization. Historically, data has been in documents, on paper, or even in Excel sheets, which makes it very difficult to exploit. So the idea is to put all this data into a specific database for each application, for each business process. Indeed, each company is unique with its organization, the structure of its personnel, its sites, and of course its products with their own data and characteristics. The processes that allow the manufacturing of these products or the execution of all logistical or support operations are all specific to a company. Naturally, this also includes all the equipment it owns and uses in a way that is specific to its processes. So all of this means that the closer we are to the manufacturing of products, the more specific the data model will be to the company. That's why it's very important to be able to model this data easily, and that's the advantage of a no-code, data-oriented platform like GxpManager, which allows you to model the data and then utilize it as needed, depending on the requirements. So why should we focus on data rather than documents? Because in the history of quality, we know that we create documents, procedures, and certification instructions. Next, we will record all the data related to a linked process, which we call evidence or records. And all this data in these documents, once lost, is very difficult to retrieve because it is sent into a pile of papers. Each batch record, manufacturing record, and each execution of an operation will generate records that will pile up and be very difficult to retrieve and use later. So data is really the value of the company. Why is it the company's value? Because by utilizing this data, we will be able to take action. For example, if I instantly know the success or loss rate for commercial affairs, but also for manufacturing, for a trial, for an analysis, I will be able to act. I will be able to know what my yields are, what my successes are, and therefore the problems I need to solve. I can instantly know the progress of my process. And with that, if I see major triggers, slowdowns, or abnormal behaviors, I will be able to act and improve my processes. Similarly, there is data that is sometimes hidden, meaning that the utilization of the data is not straightforward. This is the case of correlation between different phenomena. Let's say phenomenon A and phenomenon B. Maybe it's the correlation of these two phenomena that will explain why we have a success rate or not. So it is indeed through the exploitation of data that we will be able to improve these processes, quantify them, and somewhat predict what will happen, particularly regarding the visibility of failures or the reliability of a process. When we talk about digitizing processes, people often just digitize their documents or put them in an EDM. Putting documents in an EDMS is not truly being able to exploit the data, because behind an EDMS there is no data model. So if we don't have a data model, meaning a structuring of data through tables and links, and the ability to connect and relate them to each other, it will be very difficult to perform accelerated exploitation. It's going to be very complicated, so it might seem like we've made progress, but in reality, we haven't advanced much. What we observe is that all the clients who work with GxpManager have very little need for JET because they naturally access the data. They look at equipment, they look at a colleague, a training session, etc. They get the information right away. They don't need to go through piles of documents or search all over the place, etc. So the documents in GxpManager are mainly reports, summary reports that will synthesize the data from different processes, providing managers with an immediate summary of their activity, and that has value. Data is at the heart of the information system. In GxpManager, we work at the data level. This is what truly gives it its power and makes the creation of applications through a tool like Google AdSense, which generates applications from the data model, so valuable. Thus, we can directly approve the data. We can track who created the data, who modified it, and what it has become. We will therefore track the entire evolution of this data and then be able to link all this data together. Let me give a small example. Let's take a piece of equipment. Well, with this equipment, I will have all its characteristics in my database to be able to record its number, its identifier, its status, its physical characteristics, but I will also be able to link it, for example, to the supplier and attach all the reception and purchase documents for this equipment. I will be able to attach all the documents related to the qualification of this equipment and also the non-conformities we have proven, the tests we have conducted, and thus to have an instant status of the equipment. But I can also know the entire staff who will have access to this equipment, be able to know if they are accredited, trained, and if there are any particular risks. In the same way, I will have immediate access to all maintenance operations, to keep a historical record over time, to know if the equipment is well maintained, if all the operations that have been done and their status are completed. But I can also know all the products that have been manufactured with this equipment, all the batches that have passed through, and all the parameters used on this equipment. And of course, all these non-conformities, reviews, and issues that I have encountered, which will allow me to improve my processes. This idea is very important to work at the data level because we will have data uniqueness. And this is important because by having data uniqueness and linking this data with other process data, I can have immediate information. How do we utilize data in GxpManager? Actually, it's very simple and natural, using grids like in Excel, which allows you to immediately filter, sort, and easily find information. Or directly in the forms, it's the natural step. In the forms, we also have links, so we can navigate. As I explained earlier, when I am on the equipment, I can immediately see the links with the different processes that interact with this equipment. Of course, I can do what we call publications, which we talked about earlier, the famous reports. In GxpManager, we can create reports very simply and easily. We will retrieve data from different processes, insert it into a nice form, and also integrate dashboards, summary documents, etc. So it's a phenomenal time saver because we know that writing reports can be very, very long and take a lot of effort. We also naturally have traceability matrices because in the way we propose for an application in GxpManager, the paint history, the data, and their links. So we understand very well that GxpManager is exploited, and in fact this is the very origin of GxpManager. It very well exploits these links between the data, and so we can build traceability matrices in an acoustic manner, and we will be able to have precisely, for example, if I create a matrix based on a piece of equipment or all of my equipment, I will be able to see the tests that have been performed on it, the results of these tests, etc. So we can follow the entire process and have very, very comprehensive analyses. I also have the ability in GxpManager to create my own dashboards. So we have a number of dashboards that are linked to tables we can build very easily, allowing us to have information on loss rates, success, progress, etc. In short, we can create pie charts, curves, histograms, etc. Anything we can, that's it. So from the simplest to the most complex, we can exploit this data, enhance it, track it, understand it, and it's wonderful. So if you have projects before acquiring specific software or a startup, you need to ask yourself a few questions. The first question one might ask is, will my data be unique? If I have 36 software programs with 36 items, 36 equipment codes in each software, the operators, etc., it will be very complicated to analyze this data. I will need to consolidate them and therefore add an additional layer of software on top of my existing software, and we know that this is not easy. And then ask yourself, will my data really be usable? Won't it be buried in papers, in drafts? Can I really exploit this data? So this is a very important point. Data exploitation today is truly one of the keys to business success and other improvements. There you go. I hope this short video has shed some light on the importance of data today, and I wish you a very wonderful Saturday indeed. Goodbye.